defense was much better for a long time, but we just lost our offensive flow. You got to score points to win, and I think we did a really good job defensively for a long time, and we just couldn't score. And that's just something we've got to do better. I've got to be better, getting them moving better. The offense has got to be better. We played two different teams. Notre Dame is an offensive team that lets you shoot. Now we're playing a team that guards you, just like we will Saturday, and you've got to move better. And when you get to the basket, I think we got there a lot, we just didn't finish. And, we have to finish better. So tonight was really more about our offense than anything else. They're a good passing team. They got all small guys. People are going to move the ball. We did a good job, and then we had a couple breakdowns. We made it, once Quincy didn't come up a couple times on the wing shooter, got late, fouled him. We just aren't consistent with what we're doing. We did a good job quite a bit, but then we didn't. That's how you lose these games. It's a tough league. People are good, and you got to. We've had two opportunities to win games, and we couldn't get it done. Marek, they got physical with him, and he couldn't get in. He couldn't finish. It's a physical team, and we're going to see that Saturday. And those are teams that are physical. You got to be able to handle that, and we just didn't handle it well, and we haven't handled it very well. We're late getting to the shooters. We've been late most of this year, and some of it's inexperience. Most of those are forward plays. I don't know where they get this dynamic of how many points scored against so many people, but most of the threes in the Notre Dame game were coming against our forwards, because our forwards aren't coming up, and they've got to get up there. They're doing everything they can to win. They want to win. I think tonight we got went a little bit too much with the ball, but you have to against a pressure team. We're not really good at that. That's not something we're really good at. And that showed tonight. But they're trying. They're doing things they have to do. We've just got to get better. Right now, we're just not good enough. And we got to work harder. I got to do a better job, and we all got to do a better job. We'll see you Saturday.
Welcome to the Cuse Militia Podcast with those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
What's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. If you like it, please share it. The universal for the handles is at Cuse Militia. Go there, join the militia. We are the only Syracuse sports podcast centered around giving you, the fans, a voice. Welcome. Happy Wednesday.
Hump day.
Hump day, what? Rate, review, and subscribe. Whatever platform you listen on, we appreciate that. It helps us out big time. Appreciate everybody who already has. So, the Orange, they went cold in the second half with the Hokies. The Hokies went on a 21-4 run there, and you could see it just falling apart. Another disappointing loss in front of a home crowd, 67-63. And, we're going to have to suck it up. Syracuse is going to have to travel to UVA this Saturday at 4. That game will be on ESPN. And, we'll go over all that stuff. I did see Orange is currently sitting at a 6 seed in the NIT tournament. So, anyway, after the loss, did you see that? After the loss, Syracuse sits at 8-7 and 1-3 in the ACC. And doesn't it figure, Joe, in a down year, for what I perceive to be a down year in the ACC, I don't think it's as strong as it's been the past few years, with a pretty decent schedule. It doesn't look like Syracuse they have not so far been able to capitalize on that. So,
no.
Look, we are feeling the pain with you. It is not easy to throw this stuff. Me, the angry one, Joe, the rational one. I only become rational after you got to give me a while. You got to give me a little bit. Like someone should probably shut down the Twitter account after games like this.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I get emotional,
later,
dude.
But it makes sense.
I get emotional, and sometimes I fly off the handle. we'll talk about it all here coming up. But of course, as always, we want to talk about my bookie. Look, if you have bet online before and you know what you're
Don't say his name.
No, don't say his name. You can't do that. You come and break your legs. If you have bet online before, you know what you're getting into. I would urge you to go over to MyBookie if you're not sure what it's about. Well, there's a couple things you can do. Research it, see if it's right for you. Also, MyBookie, they have patient customer service department. You can call them. They can walk you through the process. And right now, if you join MyBookie, they will double your deposit. Just log on to mybookie.ag today. Make your first deposit using the promo code CHAIR, and they will match you dollar for dollar to jumpstart the bankroll up to $1,000. And Joe tells me The Bachelor's starting back up, so those bets are on. That's what makes Joe excited. You know,
I didn't say that.
I'm more of a football bettor. I like the parlays, but there's always something going on. You find anything under the sun at MyBookie.
Hey, teach his own.
Exactly. Go to mybookie.ag. Make your first deposit using the promo code CHAIR in MyBookie. We'll match you dollar for dollar. Get the doubled deposit to jumpstart the bankroll. At MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid. Thanks, MyBookie. So, that ended perfectly. Listen to that. So, yeah. Anyway, all right, look, a rough game. Okay, let's do the good, the bad, the ugly. It's become clear to me, Joe, that Syracuse's Achilles heel is Syracuse. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Is it the aggressive man-to-man defense, or is it a powerful big man down low that the Orange struggle with? Yeah, yes. The answer is yes. The Hokies went 5 for 18 from 3 to finish the half, and Syracuse went into the locker room with the lead 33-27. It appeared, at that point, you felt good. You knew it could get close, but you felt like the Orange had it in hand. And it was a Guerrier tip slam from a Buddy Boeheim miss. It was just under 14 minutes left in the game, and that would be the last highlight for the Orange. Pretty much after that, it went downhill. So the good, I would say, I don't want to keep using this as my good, but I got to pull something. And the trajectory of Guerrier is something that's been the silver lining for the past couple games, especially the past two. But it's been, we've been watching it slowly. The thing I want to see is the consistency. He was 1 rebound shy of a double-double with 9 rebounds and 12 points. And he was the only player coming off the bench yesterday. So I thought he did great. Now, we want to talk about, he should have much smaller matchups. Okay, that's fine. Fair enough. The bad, and there's always that guy. We talked about that guy in the preview to Georgia Tech. If Nolly maybe went cold, he's a 4-time ACC Player of the Week. He struggled a bit last night. Enter Jalen Cone. A game-high 19 points, 5 for 7 from the field. All of those from 3. Hit them all. He hit 5 for 7, but he hit all his foul shots, 4 for 4. And that brings me to the ugly. Enter Jalen Cone. Fouled not once, but twice while shooting the ball. From 3, nonetheless. Sunk them both, and then sunk both of the and ones. And it's not the points. It's the momentum. It's the excitement. The bench got fired up. The whole, the fans that were there to watch Virginia Tech were fired up, and you just felt it being sucked away. And not only that, awful stupid fouls getting tacked onto you too. One by Guerrier and one by Mark, who eventually fouled out with a blocking call the crowd did not like, but I mean, it was a block. Yeah, unfortunately, no one wanted that to be a block, especially me. I was the last one that wanted to have to admit that was a block after I almost threw my phone through my TV.
I didn't want to admit it in live.
I didn't want to admit it live,
right? But then as soon as they showed the replay, you're like, he was still moving.
Yeah.
So
the shoulder gets me though. When you dip your shoulder, I don't. I get it, but it's like a judgment.
But you got to be there,
right? I know,
right? So, hey, how come I don't get to do my good and bad and ugly? How come it's just always you?
Oh, dude, have at it, brother. Have at it.
if I had to, just off the cuff, because
Okay.
I just, was thinking, like, what the hell? How
Okay.
come you get the good, the bad, the ugly, and I just get to sit here and listen?
Because
right?
I'm the
So-
host, and I think of all these cool things to do, and you don't.
Okay, well, I get it. So, all right. My good would be the fact that we actually, for a whole half and another 5, 6, 7 minutes, we actually proved that we could play pretty good defense, right?
Yeah, the defense was good.
I mean, the
Yeah.
defense was good, and Boeheim talked about that. So to be able to see them actually prove that they could do that to a shooting team, albeit not the whole game, but for a while there, it looked like you said it was in hand. The bad to me would be the fact that we cannot consistently close out on 3-point shooters. So
Yep. that's
again, it
another one.
has a little bit to do with the defense, right? But at some point, we have these breakdowns, and especially like Boeheim talked about in his press conference, the forwards being able to get out there and do that. That to me, and especially getting out there and fouling them. I mean, what did we do? I feel like we fouled like 4 3-point shots, and I feel like 3 of them went in.
Unfortunately, the Gary A one on Cone, he was turned around looking at the shot, walking back as if he knew it was going in, and he just stepped all over him. Basically, is what happened. Or he didn't let him
Right.
land. He didn't let him land. Is what it was.
Yeah,
Marks was out of control.
That was Well, that pretty much explains Mark in a nutshell, right? So
Yeah, totally.
and the ugly,
What's your ugly?
the rebounding. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, only one. We only
Are you kidding me?
rebounded by one. Yeah.
I mean, I sat there in the second half and I watched the guy that we talked about, right? That 6'2" guy. Give these forwards hell at 6'2", getting rebounds left and right. I mean, how do we not be able to get offensive rebounds against these guys? We talked about what our big men needed to do, and they didn't do enough of it. So that would be my good and bad and ugly.
Well, those are all good. I mean, those very good. And if it was called the great, the good, and the bad, we'd do two. I'm not trying to
Might be a little bit different, right? But
Yeah, now in wins, we could find bad to do with other things. But, yeah, I mean, all of that, Joe, all of it. And, I mean, you would think that this team, it's like, okay, all right, look. We got outshot. It was just, against Notre Dame, it was just the team with the most 3-pointers is going to win that game. We tied up, but we only lost by 1. So
Right.
you go from that into a team that is pretty decent at shooting, smaller, and we just find ways to struggle. And it's just so frustrating. I was saying that even before this Tech game was played, I think, and we'll talk about it, but I think we can go, and I don't make bold predictions, and I don't even know if this is bold, but I think we can go into UVA in Charlottesville and beat the Cavaliers. I think we can, especially the second time around. That is a team that has not improved like all that much. We definitely have. Their offense has not improved that much. It's their defense, and we've already seen it once. I feel like we should be able to, but I honestly felt like I never lead on like this during the show because I find it to be bad luck. But I felt like we were going to win that game. Just doing my research on them and looking at them, and I've watched a couple Virginia Tech games, one Virginia Tech game, and so I thought we could win that game. I didn't think it was going to be that difficult.
Right, and I think that it came down to going back to the previous podcast, talking about when we talked about the preview, and I explained why this game scared me, and it was because we were going to need to rely on our big men to be able to take advantage of their mismatches and actually get us more points than they normally do. Yeah, and they didn't do it.
But you saw them; they did okay in the first half.
They did okay.
Mark was driving, and he just wasn't finishing from the beginning.
I mean, Sidibe, you saw him. He tried to drive, and he was out real quick. He came right back out. Mark, he fouled out. We talked about how he can't do that. So, Mark fouled out, 7 minutes left?
Yeah, 9 fouls between the two of them, by the way.
Right. Sounds about right. So, again, I just thought that that's really what it came down to. When you look at it, I think we shot a similar percentage from the field. They had 4 more points on free throws, and, again, just those little things. We should have been able to out-rebound them more. Mark should have been able to have more than what he had. Sidibe should have had more than what he had. Gary Year, I thought he played well, but I thought he was going to do a little bit better. I thought that this was the game that we needed them to do that, and you saw us go through a little bit of an offensive, I don't want to say spurt because it was a lack thereof, but it was just all one-on-one. 6 assists. It looked like last year all over again. Yeah. And you got to give credit to Virginia Tech, Coach Mike Young. They were out there playing hard. They were playing very, very aggressive defense. And, you can argue that there were some people that I thought got fouled a couple different times. That,
there was a few.
Either way, with the way that game was going, we just let it turn, let it slip, and we just couldn't get back to it. And again, the most annoying thing is it was just like the Notre Dame game, right? Down 2. And we put a 50% or less free throw shooter on the line, haven't shot a free throw all night, and they make both. And they make both to go up 4. And the only difference was that we didn't hit the 3 at the end to make it a 1-point game. That's really what it comes down to. So definitely frustrating, and I can understand everyone's frustration. Can't wait to hear the fan feedback on this one. But I think that to guarantee us to be able to, even if something like last night happened where they go on a little spurt, like I thought they were going to, because at some point you're looking at, what would they have, 5 for 25 at some point? You're like, okay, at some point they're going to hit a couple, and we just need to keep it up. But it turned into one-on-one ball and us just missing shots because we're a jump shooting team, and our big men did not really help us as much as we needed them to.
No, I mean, and they hit 5 threes in each half. But it wasn't even so much that as it was, Joe Girard fouled on a 3. I've never seen these many fouls on 3-point shooters that I could think of in a season from the same team. Yeah. And Joe knew right away, like that was bad, that was dumb. And he went and he rightfully went over and got yelled at. He knew what to do. But I'm just frustrated. The finishing at the rim, that was the game, I think. Dolezaj got in there a number of times, especially early, just kind of set the pace for that. I mean, that was the one hole. That was the one thing we needed to take advantage of.
Yeah. I mean, he had a worse line against a shorter, smaller Virginia Tech than he did. I mean, just getting the ball ripped from him, right? Yeah. I mean, he was the guy. If he puts up if he puts up the stat line that he did against Notre Dame, who are bigger physical guys,
we win that game.
Right. But obviously, it looks to me like he's works a little bit better going against maybe the slower, bigger physical guys because he can use his speed and athleticism and his guard-like skills to be able to do some things. But it felt like maybe him, I think Noli was playing him, right? So, yeah, it was tough for him because he was out-athletic a lot.
He was out-athletic. He was out.
It's not even.
He was out-physical. He was out-athletic as well.
It's not a great way to say it, but that's how it came out, right?
That's a Boeheimism.
Deal with it.
So, anyway, you got Joe Girard, too. Let's not forget. The defense played good. The defense, I thought, played okay in the second half. It was the offense that really just fell apart.
Right.
And Joe Girard scored 2 points, I think, in the second half. And it's like...
Yeah, Girard and Buddy were both off in the second half. They just looked at... They looked for Elijah Hughes to just take over. And
it was like Tyus Battle all over again, like you said.
The weight of the world is on that guy's shoulders, and I feel bad for him a little bit. And again, just only going 6 deep when you see the people they're the players that Virginia Tech, and they were just throwing them out in waves and just aggressive defense after aggressive. It was very, very tough. And again, that's sometimes what's going to happen when you're a jump shooting team. And like you said, you can't expect the other team to miss all day. So if we would have just consistently kept the offense the way it was going, even though we were shooting average, then like you said, we would have scored enough points to still won the game.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I was just, I was really taken aback by how they just fell apart. So, all right, let's see what the fans had to say.
It's It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, y'all know what to do. Obviously, you were there last night. I know it was brutal. I did my best to try to pick a little bit here, a little bit there that could have been a little mix of thoughts, and try not to repeat it. So I appreciate everybody that goes there too, by the way. I will, at the end of every game, prompt you to by asking for your thoughts on the game. Go there, leave a comment. I read them all. I do read them all. And just so you know. Alex, not a top fan on Facebook, but I'm going to read his comment anyway. I'm a little disappointed too, Alex, by the way. And that. So I'm just saying.
Step your game up, bro.
Yeah. I think exactly what you two said that could happen did happen. Cone puts up, we didn't say Cone, but we thought there could be that guy.
Somebody, yeah.
Right. Cone puts up career high, and the rebounding was damn near even. By the way, we out-rebounded by 1, which we should have out-rebounded by 10. Also, doesn't help to have 6 assists to go there. To go to their 20, got outplayed tonight. It's that simple. Yeah, it was just this team doesn't get enough movement, and they get it. I honestly thought, Joe, that they looked nervous when Virginia Tech closed the gap. It was 12 points. It went quickly from 12 to 6, right? Back-to-back threes, right?
Yeah.
And then when that happened, I was like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah,
They're gonna
4-point play
apart.
after 4. I think Jalen Cohen scored almost all his points in the second half too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he had 3 in the first half. Because I think he had 19. And I thought he scored 16 in the second. But either way, most of them, the overwhelming majority, were in the second.
Yeah,
half.
but we get used to that, right? Is that no name that comes off the bench from the other
absolutely.
team? That's why we almost usually call one every single time, right? Who's the guy going to be this week? Because usually you can't really be out on every single one of them. But again, we know what the difference was. It was that we needed more points down low. We needed more points down low. We needed to get to the free throw line a little bit more. Whether that was our fault or the ref's fault is debatable and really doesn't matter at this point. So
it doesn't. But even if you get to the free throw line, Joe, and there was
a couple times when Joe Girard I thought got fouled.
I thought so too. But he's the one we want on the line, obviously, which would be great. But 64.7% is what we got last night, 11 for 17.
Well, we've seen that. Like we've talked about Joe Girard having to take advantage. He can't just shoot outside jumpers. He has to take advantage of these very aggressive guards, right? The things that we've been talking about, and it looked like he was finally trying to do that last night, and he just wasn't getting the calls. I mean, he gets those calls. You can probably add another 3 to 6 points, easy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a 4-point game, and we missed 6 of our free throws.
And Buddy got fouled on a 3-pointer.
He did. He definitely did. And
right in front of Coach.
Yeah, I mean, it was not great officiating, but aren't we used to that too, folks? Isn't that kind of par for the course?
Yeah,
you got to overcome those things, though, too.
Right.
You got to be good enough to overcome those things. At some point, it's
right.
You
can't always blame it on them, right? Because you know that you're not getting the same. Almost just like a judge in the courtroom, you're not getting the same judge every single time. So there's going to be different calls, and you just have to kind of change the way that you play toward it. If Joe's not getting a call for some reason, talk to the ref, see what he's doing wrong, see why it wasn't a foul, and you maybe change something. So again, that just comes with experience. That's it.
Torian on Facebook, not a top fan, but I've never seen Torian on Facebook. I believe I've seen him on Twitter, though. He says, yikes, Notre Dame and Virginia Tech simply out-executed us on offense down the stretch, and defensively, the zone is great to have in your repertoire, but as your only defense against Division I coaching schemes and shooters, good luck. I think talent-wise, we were about par with Notre Dame, but we were clearly more talented than Virginia Tech. They made some nice adjustments to shift the tide in the second half. Well said, Torian. I mean, really. And you nailed it, because I think we were equally matched with Notre Dame. The shooting was, I mean, you looked at the stats from Notre Dame, it was like mirror image almost, And
right.
and Virginia Tech, clearly, I think we are better than I thought it was clear. I thought it was just not well put together. And I don't know what, Joe, coach has to do to get that right. You heard him twice during the press conference. If you listen to the whole thing, he put it on himself twice. I got to do a better job. They got to do better. I got to do better. So,
right.
But what is that? What does he have to do better? Because
he's still trying to figure it out, though, right? Because sometimes you just said, look, Virginia Tech had 8 players that played 14 minutes or more. We had 6 players play.
Yeah.
Right. So again, we have to go back to the whole expectation. And as a Syracuse fan, I get it. I get the fact that when you look at the stats and you look at just overall, and there's a lot of when you look at certain things overall, and people do their little, case studies about the top teams in the last however many decades or whatever. I mean, we usually line up there in the top 10 just based off wins and based off performances in the NCAA tournament. And I think that it's one of those things where we kind of got to maybe rewind back to our previews, rewind back to us talking about this team in the offseason and what it was going to be like. The fact that it was going to be a different offense, and we knew the defense, we knew what he was going to be, but it was going to be a brand new team, a young team, and that it was going to be exciting to watch this team get better and grow. And we were talking about the expectations. And slowly, as the season goes along and game after game, people start getting back to the same old orange expectations. And just because your expectations change doesn't mean that this team has changed, especially in the positive. And when you look at it, back when we were even talking about that, we were expecting Jalen Carey to be our starting point guard. There was a lot of people that were expecting Robert Braswell to be able to come in and help, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that have changed. We didn't even have expectations. We're talking about, let's watch this team grow. Well, now Carey's out. We got John Bolzak out. Robert Braswell's got his shin splints, right? Howard Washington doesn't know how his knee is every day to day. Godine and Gary, I thought a lot of us thought that they were our top 2 recruits.
Oh, well, Gary,
they were going to be a little bit better, right?
Gary A was projected in the 26th round of the NBA draft preseason.
Right, and I'm not going to poo-poo on his. I'm not going to poo-poo on his game last night because I thought he came in. I thought he played good, but overall throughout the season, I thought that we probably expected more from him. So again,
without a doubt,
our expectations are rising without actually seeing the results.
I think we're getting frustrated that we're not winning these conference games too.
Well, of course, these games, these are the type of games where
these are the ones we got to win.
Well, but the last 2 games, like we've said, the stats are close. The stats are everything. What is it? What is the little things here and there? And the experience and the depth and all those little things can change that.
At home too, Joe. So the just for some perspective, the Virginia Tech, I think, is 50. What are they? 52nd. They're 52nd right now in the net rankings. So that was a quad 2 loss.
Right.
And, we're going to start keeping track of this. UVA is going to be an away game, and we'll go over that in a minute. But UVA away is a quad 2 win. So...
or loss.
Well, I'm saying if
it's a quad 2 game.
It's a quad 2 game. But I'm saying,
again,
you can...
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. ACC is down. You see Virginia Tech. I mean, they went and they beat Michigan State this year. So, and we saw them firsthand last night. When you play against those type of physical teams, if the other team's not on their game, then it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. You
can't tell me. You can't, don't get me wrong. I thought on paper we were better,
games.
Right? But you cannot tell me that team didn't impress you last night, Virginia Tech. Their mettle, the way that they played hard and tough, and their defense the whole game.
I love scrappy teams because that's how. Look,
well, don't get me wrong. I love them, but I hate when we play them.
Oh, absolutely. Those are the guys that you want to punch in the throat, right?
Especially when you stop moving on offense. They're all up in your grill, right? Yeah, exactly.
You're like, where's the foul? He's on him like a T-shirt. What the hell's going on here?
Well, the refs can't call fouls the whole game, right? So that kind of sets a precedent. And then we're sitting back in the 2-3 zone. So those are the type of games where, like, when people talk about our defense, it's just like, you see these teams as why can't we do that, right?
The defense is still not great. Well, but they did better against them. See, it's 2 different styles of play.
Right, but did they do better, or did just Virginia Tech miss shots?
I think that it's. I don't think that our defense was better. I think that Virginia Tech is a different animal. They're just different, and I don't think we change much. I don't think Boeheim adapts much to the teams he's playing. He just does what he's going to do.
Right, but the adaptation also has a little bit to do with who you have on the team.
Yeah, I know.
You can pull him on the sideline. You can write up plays. You can tell him what to do all day long.
Yeah,
but you can't go out there and do it for him, right? So
exactly. At Coach Tarver 1 on Twitter, never should have self-reported to the NCAA. Should have played Fab and won the title in 2011 and 12. These kids play hard. Let's go Orange. There's a take for you, Joe.
Well, that is.
It's a loaded one, isn't it?
God, I wish I had the energy to touch that.
At Les Mitchell 19 on Twitter, is what it is. Young team with less talent than we're used to having. Recruiting had dipped, and that can't be argued. Program in rough shape, and I don't think that's crazy to think or say. Joe, you want to touch that one?
Yes, I do.
I know you do.
Because
okay.
I was talking to some coworkers today. I'm going to let you know when it comes to basketball, especially. I live in Raleigh and work in Durham, and I'm right in this triangle where I basically have to work hand in hand with NC State fans, Duke fans, and North Carolina fans every single day.
Same thing with me, with UNC fans, Virginia Tech fans, and UVA fans.
Yeah. So when something like last night happens, I have to go into work and explain myself, right? So, yeah. And essentially where I've come from, I like that comment because I'm right there with it, and I just hope that this is the bottom of basically those scholarship sanctions, the fact that we've lost Mike Hopkins in recruiting for a little while, or the last couple of years, and I think that is really what we're looking at right now. I never
thought it would linger this long, Joe, but I think it's.
But what's the linger so long? We made the tournament last year. We were in the Final Four a couple of years ago. So again,
because
with Hopkins and with Hopkins, we were able to get the recruits even without the scholarships to be able to actually still compete and make some runs. But what happened behind the scenes was we didn't get those 3 extra scholarships every single year, so we weren't allowed to add to get depth and actually build players. So normally we'd have more juniors, more seniors. Right. We don't even have a senior on the team. So realistically, this is kind of the after effects of that. It does have a lot to do with Mike Hopkins, though, too. Let's not get it twisted. We talked about it before. We get Isaiah Stewart. This might be a different team, right?
Oh, totally.
So again,
totally.
a little bit of recruiting, a little bit of the coaching change inside of scholarship sanctions. I think that there's reasons, not excuses, and I just hope that this season is the bottom of where we're going to be.
Well, yes, let's hope so. I don't foresee it getting worse. We have guys that we're building
now.
We
have 9 sophomore and 9 freshmen. I don't see it getting worse. That's why I'm saying I think there's reasons for what's going to.
It's just
what it is.
Figures, though. Back to my point that I opened the show with is that in a year where Syracuse has a great opportunity to capitalize on a mediocre schedule and a conference that is a little bit weaker than it's been in the past, a conference that is the best conference in the country the past few years. And they're down a little bit this year. And we are also. They're down, we're down. Okay? It's just frustrating.
No, there's a lot of people that are down. Look at North Carolina. I mean, look at Virginia.
They're talking about
Virginia
NIT.
based upon how many games they've lost the last 2 years. So realistically, when you look at it, it sucks because last year's team probably would be a top 3, top 4 ACC team this year.
I know it's disgusting.
And sometimes that's kind of how the cookie crumbles, right?
Yeah, so that's how it crumbles.
But if you have to look at it in hindsight too, is that if that's the case, this team in a normal ACC team or in a normal ACC year wouldn't have a chance against 8 or 9 teams, 10 teams maybe in this conference, right? So at least the silver lining is, if it's down, then that means that our team still has a chance. We come out, we shoot, then we still have a chance to win the game, right?
Absolutely. So totally. Yeah.
So it gives a normally less than talented team that we have a chance to actually win ACC games. When imagine if the ACC was up.
I know we'd be getting creamed right now. But like I said earlier in the year, I think before the year even started, when we did our preseason stuff. I said, here's my we're not setting expectations, but here's my thing. I think Syracuse is going to win some big games. They're going to shock someone somewhere, and they're gonna get those. We're just going through this lull where we haven't seen anything yet. They haven't showed us anything worth getting real excited about yet.
Right.
At the end,
and that's where the doubt and the excitement and all that stuff happens. And I'm telling you, 8-7 is ugly, and 8-7 is scary.
Yeah, the worst start since like 1969 or something like that. It's like, oh my gosh, come on. At Lewis Marshall 24, when they play in motion offense, things go well. The key to this team and next year's team. The key to this team this year and next is Marek. He obviously has the skill, as we see a couple of times in games when he goes coast to coast. When the guards are overplayed, he needs the ball at the elbow and then score it. Simple. Well, unfortunately, I don't think it's that simple, but it sounds really good. So Mark was getting in there yesterday, man. He's just got to finish. And Sidibe, too. Like, it just...
nah. Yeah, good luck on that one.
I know.
I know. My thing is all Mark needs is a change of mentality. That's it. That's it.
What is that?
What is that? That is the confidence and the knowing that,
the confidence, we know
you
that,
are
right.
one of the guys that we need.
Right.
You're not just a role player anymore. You're a junior now. Okay?
You're not.
You don't just get to stroll in and play your whole career like you're a freshman and you don't have to rely on me. Like, no, we need you.
Yeah.
We've talked about it since he's a freshman. Wasn't that big of a deal as a freshman. A little bit of a bigger deal last year. This year, huge deal. You cannot do that goofball out of control. Just I'm gonna foul you. Like
I'm gonna foul you.
Last night when he just came in and just grabbed him, right? Like for no reason. Like who cares? Like what are you doing?
Yeah, I know.
And then you jump, you go backwards and just fling your leg into a guy.
I know.
I mean, sometimes
you just come off the top rope onto him. I mean, what the hell?
Right.
Come off the top rope.
And then even at the end with the block, like if you know you're not in position, just kind of go with it. See if you can't just change the shot. That's all. That's it. You don't got to make a great play.
It's about just not moving, right? It's a tendency. It's the discipline to just not move because he shifted. Just make
if he didn't move, then he wouldn't have been in his way. My whole point is don't stop there. Turn your body and try to, he's driving to the basket. Don't foul him, but just try to change his shot. You don't need to block everything. You don't need to try to get a charge every time. You don't need to get the gusto every single time.
Right, you're not going to get those calls the majority of the time anyway.
Right. So sometimes just making it just a little bit more difficult and saving those big plays for the right time.
And you're not recreating
can go a long way.
You're not recreating the Zion charge. So
no, not against the 6'2" guard. I mean, come on, let's be honest.
Just deal with it.
Right. So he's just got to change his mentality because he is. I mean, him and Gary. Obviously, Gary is a freshman. Like, you're a junior now, man. Like, we need you. So you can't get these silly fouls. You can't. I mean, he fouled out. He still played 34 minutes, but 6 and 6. Come on.
Yeah, I know. One more. Let's do one more. Let's say at Joe Catskill. It's our buddy on Twitter. Not a good showing for tonight. Felt the Orange went a little backwards tonight. Not sure that running the Orange offense through Dolezaj was the greatest move either.
We needed it. We talked about it.
I know.
That was how.
I know.
You got to be able to take advantage of those matchups. I mean, I think it's funny because we just talked about them and right. But
I'm laughing because it wasn't successful and it was just so erratic. But he's not usually that nuts. He's usually finishing some of those. He
was playing against he was getting being guarded by a very athletic 6'7". I mean, he's a guard, but come on, 6'7", Landers Nolly, right? So that was kind of a tough matchup for him. But then you got to look at the other thing. You got to look at the fact that, okay, so if that guy's guarding him, then who's guarding 6'10" Sidibe?
Right.
Oh, the 6'5" forward, PJ Horn.
Yeah, dish it off.
Well, not dish it off. We can't take advantage of it. That's the sad point. I mean, you got to look at some point. A team has limitations, and that won't get fixed in the season because there's no free agency. There's no trading. You can't do that. That's not in college. So that's a realistic thing to where when you look back and you see this, we can't even post up and score against a 6'5" guy, and we can't out-rebound. I mean, we should out-rebounded them by at least
10.
Close, but
10,
still, 8. Right? Either way, we should have been able to take advantage of the second chance points, offensive rebounds, and all that stuff, and we had equal amount. So, again, you see that it speaks volumes to the matchup, realistically.
He finishes with took our best scores out of the game. Oh well. Next up, go Orange. Yeah, next up, go Orange. Look.
Yep.
I mean, and you can be like, oh, let's stay positive and blah 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 blah. Dude, I understand it. I'm not a negative person. I'm a pretty optimistic person. But I don't need to be told to stay positive. I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? It's like borderline panic button time. I mean, it's just we've got to they've got to pull something off soon to gain some confidence. They're losing at home. They're going to go on the road. If they lose there, it's just you got a string of home games coming up too. So it's not going to be easy. So anyway, thanks to everybody who participated in fan feedback. We appreciate it. All right, Syracuse will head south to take on the 11-3, 3-1 in the ACC Cavaliers. UVA is coming off of a 60-53 loss against Boston College at Boston College. Something to keep your eyes on. Maybe it won't be nothing. I don't know, but I tried looking for it today. Braxton Key was out earlier in the season for some wrist surgery, and he left the game against BC as well. I guess he tweaked it.
So it didn't look good.
It did not look good. He was helped off the floor. He was holding his wrist, and I don't even think he went to the bench. I think he went to the locker room, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we ran straight to the locker room.
Yeah. The all-time series with UVA sits at 8-5 in favor of the Cavaliers. Boeheim would earn his 1,000th career win over the number 9 ranked Cavaliers, February 4th, 2017. We all remember that game. That was the comeback game.
Mm-hmm.
This year, they're led in scoring by 6'9", 224-pound forward Mamadi Diakite. 12.9 points a game he's averaging. 6'8", 230-pound. We all know him. 6'8", 230-pound senior guard Braxton Key, who we just mentioned. He's been killing it, man. He's second in points with 10.8, and he also leads the team in rebounds with 7.4, and also in steals at 1.5 a game. So Virginia is, as a team, shooting 40.7% from the field, 72.8 from the line, and 27, a measly 27.4 from distance. So they are who we thought they were. And also, here's the thing. Their defense is probably the same. I think their defense is about the same. I have not seen, I think I mentioned this already. I have not seen a ton of improvement in this team, especially on offense.
No, absolutely not. No, they've stayed the same. I think that we've actually gotten a little bit better on offense, a little bit better overall as a team. Obviously, we all remember the first matchup only scoring 34 points, but I don't think that Virginia – I remember doing this preview, and I remember talking about like Woldensee, who was a graduate senior who they were relying on, Morsel, who was one of their better, highly touted freshman that was supposed to come in and help, and it just hasn't really worked out for him. Braxton Key's been hurt, and he's a senior that they were relying on as well. So, I mean, they just went in and lost to Boston College last night. Boston College they were missing center Nick Popovich and their starting point guard, and they still pulled that off, right? So Virginia, they've lost 2 of their last 4, and I mean, looking at what they did to us, we know what it is, right? Huff killed us, Diakite killed us, and Keehee Clark had a pretty good game. But more or less, it was our offense. And the only thing that I'm really worried about more than anything is the fact that they just lost. So they're going to be at home. They're not going to be happy. And we know that it's not going to be easy, but again, this gives us a chance to go in there and actually kind of make up for one of the last two losses. And obviously, one game at a time, I stay optimistic. The last two games are both winnable, and I think this one's going to be too. Again, they don't shoot very well from the three, so they're going to rely on Keke Clark making plays and getting it down to the big boys, and hopefully, we can make a couple more points. I mean, the first game we played against him, Joe Girard, he only played 22 minutes, scored 3 points. I think he scored. Didn't he play 40 minutes last night, right? So
he's been playing. I think he played almost 40 against Notre Dame too.
Right. And I mean, Elijah Hughes, he had 14, but he was 4 of 14 shooting. Buddy Boeheim only had 7 points, and he was 3 of 12 shooting. So again, that was an overall just awful game for us. I think we all remember it, and I think we all wish we could forget. But I'm just really, really looking forward to hopefully them coming out and making it easier to forget that first game by getting that W on Saturday. Because again, just like the last two, I think it's going to be a winnable game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a winnable game, and I thought going into the game, the first game was a chance we could win it because
that was a game of the unknowns, right?
Well, a game of the unknowns, but it looked good. If I remember right, at halftime, I think we were down by like 1 or something like that.
They had a 25-19 lead.
Was it 25-19? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it wasn't. That's not terrible. But anyway, and in the final score wasn't terrible though. When you step back and look at it, it's just that we only scored 34. They didn't score a ton either. It's like
it was 48-34. So
exactly.
And they've had plenty of games like that this whole season where they haven't really put up that many points. So I mean, this is just one of those things where we know what the issue is going to be. We know it's how are our big guys going to go against Huff and Diakite and whether or not some random dude's going to go off,
right?
And how can we hold Keke Clark?
And to find out our random dude that may go off, you'll have to wait on that. We'll put out the scouting report and prediction at CuseMilitia.com. That's something that's fun. I enjoy putting it together and get Joe's prediction in there and all that good stuff. So that'll all be in there. But yeah, there could always be that guy. I don't know if I foresee that with this team. I kind of foresee the same type of thing. I just think that we're going to have to deal with their defense a little better. I think that probably Virginia Tech was a good practice run, really. Another physical defense that plays aggressive, and that's exactly how the Cavaliers play. So the one thing that bothers me a little bit is being away, but as we've seen, it doesn't really matter. We're home. I'm not seeing a huge edge there, and it has nothing to do. I'm not fan shaming. I'm just talking. They haven't won the games, so
right. And then obviously they have their height versus that Virginia Tech didn't have that height, right? So there's not going to be that I mean, first matchup they out rebounded us 47-28, and that's going to be right there. I think our offense is better. I think that based off of, like you said, Virginia Tech, they're going to go back to the tape film. They're going to get a practice, and they're going to go back and say, "Hey, you guys lost this game because you guys stopped moving. You stopped moving on offense." And and realistically, they only played 6 people, so maybe they got tired. Maybe they just. I don't want to make excuses, but at the end of the day, they stopped moving for whatever the reason is. And when you play against defenses like that, you can't just stand there because you're just making it too easy for them to play offense or defense. So we need to be able to move, and I think that's basically going to be the main focus because I don't think we're going to have to do anything special on defense as far as getting out on shooters. So it's more or less going to be offense versus that defense, and we've already seen it once, and Joe Girard's going to play a little bit more, and I think we have some guys that have came along a little bit better as far as definitely Guerriere for the season, but he's shooting better now than he was in the beginning of the year, so I think that we're going to have a better showing than we did the first game. It's just whether or not we can neutralize those big men enough and kind of lower and kind of squeeze that rebounding gap enough to be able to beat them at home.
And I don't know if you ever listened to the players after the game, but I think it was Joe that was saying he just missed some assignments and he wasn't closing out right. He wasn't on his guy. So I mean they're still learning the defense.
Yeah.
So It's just, they're not.
Usually a guy like him isn't expected to come in and play 40 minutes.
I know. I mean, he's done a fantastic job so far.
Right.
So, and look, got a quick turnaround, too, for getting back to Virginia, by the way. 10 days we'll be playing Virginia Tech. So in 10 days we'll be playing Virginia Tech again from today. So, I mean, that's crazy. A week and a half would be all together, something like that. But anyway, I think that's interesting. That one intrigues me. I actually look forward to that matchup again. So, because I feel like we let one slip through there last night. But it is what it is. We're going to move on. You move on, and we'll see what we can do Saturday at 4 o'clock on ESPN against the Virginia Cavaliers. I want to thank MyBookie. Go to mybookie.ag right now. Enter the promo code CHAIR when you set up your account, or enter the promo code CHAIR before you deposit, and they'll match your deposit dollar for dollar, up to $1,000. I want to thank all of you for listening, obviously, everybody who participated in fan feedback. And, of course, I got to thank James on guitar. So, for Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Thanks for listening to the Cuse Militia Podcast, the fan's voice with Sean and Joe.